didn't really understand who God was. I sort of lost him. But it was always there. He was always talking to me, and it was like my relationship with God. Every person's relationship to God is very different. I have a very my communication with God. I can feel him even when I'm breathing. I feel him in the air around me. I have a sense of him around me all the time, and I struggled with that. I struggled being so close to him, and I wanted out. I wanted just to be left alone. I wanted to be just leave me alone, and I can just be. I was looking at other people around me and said, why don't they have this person telling them what to do all the time? Not in a very nice way. And so I made a decision to say, I don't want to believe anymore. And it's stupid. It's like, how can you tell someone that you don't believe in them whilst you're talking to them? It's a contradiction. But I think I was just saying, I can't handle this anymore. I don't think I'm a good person. I failed in my marriage, which I was desperately upset about, because who wants to get divorced? You don't ever get married to get divorced. I was living away from my children, even though I had very good and close contact with my children. I felt I think I didn't deserve God speaking to me. I didn't think I deserved him being, directing me. I think there's plenty of other people in the world he could have helped, better people than me. So I was spiritually in this turmoil, and then I began to work. I was working in a private hospital, and I was a manager there. And I was introduced to this a Muslim pharmacist, and just meeting her just turned my life around. It was just amazing, and here was this Muslim pharmacist, and she was probably the most. She was, when I was just to be a Christian, we used to term being called a witness. You're a witness to God, not because of what you said, it's because of your actions. Okay, your actions, tell you that you believe in God. Many people can talk about belief in God, but it takes a good person to have all their actions emanating from God and doing everything for God. And this person was just immensely spiritual, or is immensely spiritual. Everything that she did was from God. She had a complete love of God. And you could see it in this person. This person had an aura about her of absolute serenity, that she was at one with herself, at one with God. And I said, I want that. I want what that person's got. And I don't know how to get it. So I would strike up a conversation with her. And because she was a Muslim and I had all these pre-held beliefs, as we talked about earlier, I thought there must be something in this religion. There must be something in this religion, because this person is so good. So I used to talk to her about it, and I used to argue with her all the time about Islam, because I wasn't accepting of it at first, and my conversion is a very slow conversion, and she would just very patiently talk me through what Islam was. And I'll go, why do you wear hijab for? Isn't it demeaning on women? Why do you wear this hijab? If you're hiding yourself from men, well, you're not letting men, which I thought was not letting men sin by looking at you in a sexual way. Why isn't that the fault of men? Why can't men control their lusts? Why do women have to cover their hair up for men to control their lusts? And I'd ask questions like this, and she would come back to me in a very eloquent answer. That's not the story. The story is about being being discreet about yourself, and not for men seeing you as a person, not as an object. And the way she would talk, that did make sense. And then I would go on to the next subject and go, didn't the Prophet Muhammad just make up all these stories? And she'd go, well, let's go back and we'll read some of the Quran. And then she'd talk me through the Quran. And, okay, there is something more to this. There's something in this book. There is something about that man called Muhammad. There is something there. And then, but again, I would argue. Again, I go, okay, why do you have apostasy laws in certain Islamic countries? And the Quran says there is no compulsion of religion. How can you be Islamic? How can they follow the Quran if they're willing to kill people because they don't believe in Islam anymore? And then she would go back to me and calmly speak, and calmly talk to me, saying, well, what I hear in the press is not always true, and the way people interpret Islam can be different, but she can only tell me her faith in Islam. And slowly, it started making sense. Over a year, it started making sense. And the first time I asked her out for just to come to a party, but it was a party for the whole hospital. So it wasn't a date. I just wanted her to come along, and I could talk to her then. And I met her at the party, and I was, I was very drunk when I met her, right? And she just talked to me that night, and that was the last time I've ever had a drink, because the way she talked to me that night was saying, she just completely saw through me, and got to the person inside who I wanted to be. And she spoke to that person who I wanted to be, not the person who I was. And Islam gave me that. And the way she talked about Islam was giving me those directions to be that person, to be that spiritual person, to refine God, actually to start listening to God and listen to God through not just my inner voice, but listen to God through the Quran, to say, these are the things I want you to be. This is the person I want you to be, Scott. I want you to be righteous, and I want you to be merciful. I want you to be, your belief in God has to come out through your actions. And I think the structure of Islam and this belief in the oneness of God and the prophets, gave me that. It gave me that structure. And to that point, it's very poor analogy, but I felt always had something missing inside of me. I felt like an empty, of a puzzle with one piece missing. There was always a gap inside of me, and it's like Islam come along and filled that gap for me, and I felt then completed. Christianity is incredibly good at giving spirituality. Islam gave me a very global look at God, not from a global look as in the spiritual actions and my worldly actions can be combined. So over a length of time, I started to embrace Islam. I started reading the Quran, and I started to, I've made a conscious decision not to drink. I started tentatively praying 5 times a day. Well, I started praying once a day. And the person I met, who's now my wife, would show me how to pray at first, and just very gently teaching me. And she was such a gentle teacher in Islam. It was amazing. This is someone I needed, and this person who, I needed someone who didn't just talk religion, but actually acted out religion. Acted out the principles of God, to be merciful, to tell the truth all the time, and to be righteous, and to give to charity, and to be completely giving. And this person, my wife, taught me in a very gentle manner, and until one point, I was contemplating about Islam. And it struck me, actually, I've become a Muslim without knowing that I've become a Muslim. I follow, I started praying 5 times a day, I understood about eating halal meat. I was reading the Quran most days. I tried to read it most days. And that's true. Actually, I am a Muslim, and I'm prepared to say that I am a Muslim. And she wasn't my wife then. I said it to her, and I said, I think I'm ready to say this, and I declared it to her, and then from then on, I knew that I was a Muslim, and I knew that I had found a sense of community that I'd always be a part of, and I found a sense of God that I always wanted to be with Him, and I opened myself up to be guided by Him, and for Him to teach me, and for me to listen to His voice, and I've taken that path, and it's been the most incredible path since. Life is very hard, but that sense of God and that sense of that oneness of God. You can't explain who God is, but that the small part that I see of Him, this immense, incredible. You can't put attributes to Him, but He is everything, and He gives me everything, and it gave me such a sense of well-being and a sense of purpose in life, and I have to say it's just been an amazing journey since I've turned to Islam. I didn't think about it at first. I always thought I was just a Muslim first and always, and I still am. We're all Muslims, we're all brothers in one faith. We just practice faith a little bit different, and that's all. But at first, my wife never ever talked to me about Shia Islam or Sunni Islam. She just taught Islam, and that was it. It was simple. It was only when I started getting negative views on me from other Muslims. So I entered Muslim very innocently, and I hope I'm still kept a part of that innocence, because I want that innocence. I don't want to be, I'm Shia, they're Sunni, or whatever. I want to be one community. But of course there are differences in that, and it was only when I think I had my first Ramadan, and I was on my own. I was in Dubai, and I took my children away on holiday. So it's my first time. This is about 3 years ago, and I was in Dubai on my own. I was the first time without my wife praying, and I went to the prayer room, and I had my and I'll pray with my hands down. I play in a very Shia way. And I came out to one prayer room, and a group of men come up to me and called me a kafir. And I was like, a bit shocked. And I didn't know what the word meant, right? But they weren't very pleasant to me. And okay, well, fine. That was maybe I'm praying wrong. Maybe I'm doing things that I'm not meant to do. Because my wife wasn't here to guide me. And I thought, okay, but I carry on praying anyway at my own. And again, people come up to me, and you can't pray like this. Why are you praying like this for? And I was like, okay, I didn't know. I was shocked. I said, am I doing something wrong? And they're saying, why are you praying with your hands down by your side? And I was going, well, this is the way I've been taught. And then they're going, they're pointing their fingers at me and wag their fingers at me, and I'd go, okay, and I'd come back. And I came back and told my wife, and I said, I don't know what I did wrong. People would tell me off as I was in their prayer rooms, or coming out, never in the prayer rooms, I was coming out to the prayer rooms. And she goes, no, they're just, you do anything right. It's just, they're small-minded. They just don't understand, the way you pray. They're brought up a different way, pray in a different way, and they think everyone believes in that way of praying. But it doesn't matter, because you're praying to God, not to other people. The way you pray, as long as you feel comfortable praying to God like that, God will accept your prayers. You're doing things right. Like, as in, and she's very generous. Like, God will accept their prayers, whether you cross your hands or not. So I thought that was okay. That's fine. And then I